Hey lovelies, welcome back to another episode of our Better Breakfast series where I am sharing ideas to make the most important meal of the day, the tastiest meal of the day. And today it is all about 3 delicious baked egg ideas. If you've never had baked eggs, they are so super yummy. Even though these look worthy of a weekend brunch, they're actually so simple to put together, you can make them on a busy morning. I always suggest prepping your ingredients during your Sunday meal prep, and then come morning, you can just throw them into the dish, crack a few eggs on top, and get them into the oven. What could honestly be easier? We're starting with a really classic combination of flavors that I think both you and your kids, if you have them, will love. For each of these recipes, I am going to be using oven-safe dishes. Of course, that's always really important because we are going to be baking these right in the oven. I highly recommend greasing them really well before you get started because, of course, things do love to stick to baking dishes. I'm starting with some turkey kielbasa here that I've just roughly chopped. You could really use any deli meat you wanted to here, some roast chicken, some roast turkey, even some ham would work really well, but turkey kielbasa I think is such a great flavor, so we're gonna get that into our dish. Next, we are going to pile in some frozen hash brown potatoes. Now, I usually don't use things like frozen hash browns in my cooking, but in this case, they are really, really handy because they're already partly cooked. So they'll finish cooking in the oven as opposed to raw potatoes, which would not have a chance to fully cook at all. To this, I am going to add a good sprinkle of cheddar cheese. I love a good sharp cheddar for breakfast, as you guys know. More cheese is always on the menu at my house. Then we are going to add our eggs. The best way to add your eggs to a baked egg dish is by breaking them into a bowl first. That way, if you accidentally get a shell in, you're only getting your shell into the bowl and you can fish it out as opposed to trying to get it out of here. Make sense? I'm always a fan of creating a little well in the center of my ingredients so my eggs have somewhere to sit. I'm just gently going to roll my eggs into my baking dish. We'll season this up with a little bit of salt and pepper and then get these into the oven at 425 degrees Fahrenheit for between, say, 12 and 15 minutes. What you're looking for is for the whites to have set completely and those yolks to be cooked to your liking. I'll admit it, I am a big fan of an oozy yolk in a recipe like this because that is the perfect place to dip some tasty baguette. True story. Next up, we are making an individual version of a classic shakshuka. If you're not familiar with this concept, it is super tasty. It's basically eggs baked in a spiced tomato sauce. For this dish, I'm starting once again with some oven-safe dishes. I'm just going to grease them lightly. Once those are greased, we will turn our attention to our tomato sauce. So I basically am starting with some passata or strained tomatoes in my bowl. To that, I am going to add a little bit of smoked paprika, some ground cumin, some ground coriander, and of course, because it's me, some red pepper flakes, which are always optional, but make things nice and spicy. I'm also going to stir in some minced garlic. Once all of that sauciness is mixed together, we'll divide it between 2 oven-safe baking dishes, and then I'll just use my spoon to create a little well for my egg. Then once again, I'm going to crack my egg into my bowl and roll it gently into the center of my sauce. I'll season these simply with a little salt and a little pepper, and into the oven they go. After about 12 or 14 minutes, they are going to be nice and bubbly and delicious. I like finishing them off with some crumbled feta for a nice salty bite. Now, I'll be honest with you, I think the best way to eat this is just to leave the knife and fork to the side and just sop up all that tastiness with some bread. Finally, if you're looking to start your day on the healthier side, I have my Go Green baked eggs. These are full of all sorts of tasty green veggies. First, I'll start by greasing my oven-safe baking dish once again, and then I'm going to load in some amazing green veggies. So I've got a good handful of broccoli going in, some chopped asparagus, and then pile in some finely chopped kale. Once all those greens have been loaded in, we'll season them simply with just a little bit of garlic powder, and then I will add some crumbled goat cheese. I absolutely love goat cheese in this recipe, but if you're not a fan of goat cheese, cream cheese would also work really well here. Finally, I am going to add my eggs to the center of my dish. season this with some much needed salt and pepper, and then get it into the oven, once again at 425 degrees Fahrenheit, until those eggs are nice and set. Now that is an excellent way to get cracking in the morning, don't you think? I really hope you'll give all 3 of these tasty ideas a try, and if you do, be sure to tweet me, Instagram me, or Snapchat me a photo, because as always, I love seeing your kitchen creations. Speaking of kitchen creations, if you have not yet checked out my new series with Mind Over Munch, Friday Night Supper Club, I really hope you will. We had such a blast making it. Basically, we get together on a Friday night and make something a little more challenging, and comedy ensues. I hope you guys love it as much as I do. If you haven't checked it out, I'll link it in the description box below. Finally, if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe, because there is lots more deliciousness where this came from.